Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? What's up, brother Doug? What's up?
Hey, it's Monday. We are excited, aren't we? We are super excited. No, we are. We are. Absolutely. Can't wait, man. This weekend, my brain during sleep mode was thinking work. So that's when someone like me who's not in touch with my levels of stress and things like that. I don't think I'm stressed, but my brain is definitely in the cooking mode of building, growing, dreaming. So that means that's when I fall asleep, I go back to work. Has that ever happened to you, Zach?
Yeah, all weekend. I got the bike back on Friday finally after a week with no bike. It went into the shop. Good morning, Saul. Good morning, Adam. Good morning, Jeremy. Great to have you guys here. Saul was singing in his comment, so you know. But I got the bike back on Friday. And so you know what that means. That means Zach was listening to audiobooks and thinking. Yeah. So the gears were turning all weekend.
Do you have a number? Do you have a number of books that you've listened and read this year?
I would have to go back and look, but I'm in somewhere probably around 30. I listen at 1.5 to 1.75 on Audible. So it's funny. Faster.
It depends on the author, right? But so you don't. What do you do if you hear a good point and you're on your bike? Do you like pause it and replay it back, or you just process it really well and fast?
I process it, and I may actually go back and listen to it. And if the book is good enough, then somewhere along the way there'll be a physical copy.
Yeah.
So, got it. That's too funny. Good old Saul. Stirring the pot this morning. Yeah, so like I the one day, and that's kind of what led to we announced it for the all access members because we love you guys. So I was out riding and I heard something from one of Alex Hermosi's books, and I'm like, I'm literally at mile 19 of like mile 36 or whatever.
Right.
I stopped the bike and I'm on the phone. I'm like, hey, Mike, what do you think about this? Sounds good. Talk to the other guys. Hey, EJ, what do you think? You know, And then I called TK and got a voicemail. So we talked about that one after the fact. But
right.
Yes. So when stuff like that happens, and this is a great lesson for any of you guys, you included, Doug, and I've made this mistake. Keep a notebook and a pen by your bed. Because those midnight thoughts, when they're gone most of the time.
Yeah.
And so if something comes to you that just like shakes you awake, write it down.
I finally found a halfway decent audio. I don't have iPhones. I know you guys with Apple products can record notes, but I found one that records and transcribes. So because you're right, you forget some great idea, and then like hours or a day later, you are so frustrated because it felt like the next Rubik Cube invention, and it's gone now. So definitely gotta keep.
I love notebooks. I love whiteboards. I love anywhere you can physically put it down at some point. And sometimes you do. You just have to make a voice note and then write it down.
Well, now I just forward it right to my email, so it's transcribed and it's working out pretty good. So let me get us into prayer.
Yeah, of course.
Good morning. Good morning, Lord. It's Monday and we are here again. So many things in our lives, Lord, are repetition, from brushing our teeth to opening and closing doors to doing our podcast to going to our first calls. So many things, Lord, are repetitious. And God, we just ask that you be a part of each and every one of those moments. We know that time can sometimes be considered our enemy, as we feel like we don't have enough of it, or that it escapes us. But God, in all the things that we do, from little to large. We just pray that we have an impact on ourselves, on our salvation, and the people and the community around us. And today, Lord, I lift up Jeremy to you. We thank you for his bold and brave steps to begin to grow his business. We pray as he has an employee that he be a great leader to this person. We pray that a legacy is being formed in Jeremy's life, his business, and his employee. And we do all this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Good morning, Jose. What is up, brother? And Saul, sidetracking again. I'm gonna answer this because I've been asked this so many times. It's a specialized A1 Divergent 2016. It was a new to me bike. It's a used bike. I had a buddy who hanging in his garage. He thought he was gonna ride it more and didn't. And so he sold it for literally half price. I sent pictures and price to Rob Jones, and he goes, "Dude, you don't buy that. You're an idiot." So buy that. So I did. The problem with it sitting in a garage is moisture gets in the bottom bracket, and then the bearings start to seize up, and you hear as you're riding. It just drives you crazy. So, new bottom bracket, good to go. Easy peasy.
That's it. How much does the bike weigh?
It's pretty light. I mean, it's definitely under 30 pounds. It's aluminum, so it's heavier than their carbon. I guess Rob's wife has that bike, but in the carbon fiber. So,
that's amazing. So I've gained a bike this year in body weight. That's impressive from the donuts. Yeah,
that's funny.
That's awesome.
That's funny. So today we are talking about leadership, and I'm gonna fire it off because this was the start of what was stirring in me all weekend, and it actually, funny enough, came from. I sat down to watch Star Wars Clone Wars with my daughter. It's one of the cartoons, and there's a quote at the beginning of the episode that says, "Great to follow." Great leaders know when to follow. What I took away from that is there's moments as leaders that we need to step out of the way, right? If we have done our jobs as leaders, we have raised up other leaders within our organization. They're going to be skilled in what they are skilled in, and we are not. And so it is our job to lead by stepping out of the way, facilitate whatever they need, but step out of the way and let them shine in their gifting, which then led to the stuff in the bike. And that's kind of where our topic is going to go today. I was listening to the entrepreneurial roller coaster, and he said, "Man, you better have the best A players around, like hiring B and C players just leads to detriment." And he shared the story about this guy talking as he hired people and how he became $1 billion company, as he's the dumbest person in the room. Like, everyone around him is really smart. And I look at Maxwell and I'm like, Maxwell is sitting here saying, like, A players are only going to attract A players. So how do you attract if you're the dumbest person in the room? And I went, he's not.
Yeah.
He is good at one thing. He is great at one thing. He's an A player in one thing, and that is if our goal is to lead a company, we have to be great at one thing. Leading.
Yeah.
Then everyone else can do their gifts and they can lead in their way that they're called to lead. If we are a great leader, we will attract other great leaders that'll come up alongside of us, and they're going to be able to do what they do.
Yeah, I agree. I had similar thoughts. If anyone here thinks that we get together for an hour or so during the week to prepare for a Monday morning podcast, we don't. And some of you are going, we can tell. But either way, there's not a lot of preparation, but it's neat. I wrote some thoughts down, this morning when you texted the theme, and I agree, man. I pretty much can reinforce all that by saying, from my perspective and my experience, I think that whatever you're really great at, you need to find somebody and train them and teach them that thing that you're really great at,
Mm-hmm.
and don't delay, don't wait, because you're going to begin to multiply yourself in those areas that you're great. And then guess what? The areas that you're not so good, you need to go hire somebody that's good at it and better than you. Um,
Those
because I
cracks
feel
will start to show. They will
that's right.
start to show.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you can take on one thing at a time. You have to do your best version to cover all the bases. And so, again, the area that you're not great at, you need to find somebody that's better than you and get going. And then what you just kind of led all out with, although I think you used the word dumb, and I take offense to that, but we need to keep the law of the lid in our thoughts. We need to keep growing and stretching. Otherwise, the limit is as far as our brain will take us, right? So we've got to keep expanding our knowledge and understanding, and get better at the things that we're not. But I am by no means trying to be an expert in bookkeeping, advertising and marketing, Google. I mean, there's certain areas that I feel like that's just something I'm never going to want to be great at. I have to have an understanding to be able to hang there and make sure that I can hold people accountable. But I don't want to be a superstar in every category. Um, you know, so those are my thoughts so far.
And you can't be, right. I mean, you can't be. And I know
Some
I
people try though. That's what I'm saying, Zach.
I
We're
know
not we're not talking about. What do we
recovering
always
trier here.
Well, that's it.
Recovering
I was just gonna
trier
say,
here.
where do we always go, you and I? It's mindset. So mindset is what we think. It's not what actually happens. I mean, we want good things to happen, but like we're talking just straight up at the beginning, where your brain is thinking. If you're telling yourself, I need to do all these things myself, and I can't get from here to there until I'm really good at all of them. Well, your mindset, in my opinion, is taking a really difficult track to success, and you can do that. But I feel like whatever your gift is, find someone to teach that to, and then trust them. And what's exciting is watching them get better, screw up. You come alongside and you mentor and get better. They get better at it. That's an enjoyment for me.
That law of the lid, man. That just
Mm.
I thought back to running Gordon's. I thought back to um, different times that I've led. I've been leading the sound team for over 13 years at church.
At
And I
church.
Yeah, at church, and I've thought through um, the ebb and the flow of my leadership within that. And man, there was times where I was just low as low could be, and the team would only grow so far. Like they could only get so far because I was leading it. Like I wasn't letting them. My capacity as a leader was capped,
Mm.
and so because that was capped, we were retaining volunteers that were capped in their
Yeah.
skill level,
Yeah.
and I wasn't great at leading, so it just kept like train wrecking on itself, and
Mm.
it led to exhaustion. Is what is it? It literally was spinning my wheels all the time because it was we'd get to this point and people couldn't grow past it because I was at a level, and then we'd have to start all over again. So instead of improving myself, I just kept trying to do the same thing over and over.
Mm.
Definition of insanity.
Yeah, yeah.
And as I've grown as a leader in these 13 years, like the last couple of years, I've watched the team. We're down to 3 guys that do a fantastic job, and they're asking questions and they're finding things out on their own, and I'm watching the team grow. And I just sent the pastor a text message. I'm like, hey, you got time for like a lunch meeting? Because I have these things stirring in my head about that team. Like, how can we help that team grow
Mm.
even further? Because both the pastor and I have each leveled up in our leadership.
Well, you kind of said that it was exhausting, and I would tell you that I think we've all been in that spot where we make an attempt to go somewhere where we're not capable quite yet. We don't have that knowledge or wisdom, um, and maybe we're not seeking it. So we're in this crazy cycle. The exhausted part is the emotional toll that it takes of feeling like you got it right this time and failing, and feeling like you got it, and you find yourself at that same dead end over and over. Like I can't, like for you, maybe it's like I can't keep a 3-member team. They just get frustrated, they burn out, and they leave. It's the same dead end spot. Now, so to me, that's the exhaustive part. And what do some of our friends in the community end up doing? I tried that. You know what? I'd just rather do it myself. So they're working hard and they might be exhausted, but it's not as frustrating as the exhaustion of wanting to be good and not putting time into here and learning from your mistakes and changing what you do, right?
And the exhaustion comes in with having to train the same people over and over again and then step back into the role that you thought you had stepped
Yeah.
out of, right? How many times in the service community, like a great technician all of a sudden owns a company and they're like, I'm going to train up guys this way.
Mm.
And that fails repeatedly and repeatedly. Again, recover. Like I'm not picking on anyone in the community. I'm looking in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
You get stuck in this loop and eventually you're just like, I can't keep putting this hat back on. The answer is to grow your mind
Mm.
and to figure out how to lead better. If that means getting a mentor that's an amazing leader, that's, a higher level leader than you are, learn from them. Take that to heart and then begin to act on those principles.
Mm.
Whether you're a manager, a CSR, a technician, it doesn't matter. You're leading other people. You got to get better at leadership. Leadership, I know we keep Doug and I are always on mindset and leadership just naturally because that's where we are. But it's so key to everyone's business. If you don't figure that out, if you don't
Mm.
figure out how to become a better leader, no matter what you're doing, it's you're just gonna get stuck on that crazy train, you know?
Thinking about moments or traits that flipped a switch in my head that set a new kind of outlook.
Mm-hmm.
It was everything that happens that is great, good, not so good, or terrible. Everything is quickly processed in my brain. What happened? Why did it work? Why didn't it work? Is this something that needs to be part of the legacy of who we are? Is this something that we need to expand on? And how does it affect tomorrow? Right? So something not so good happens. What you got to put that fire out. You got to fix that problem. But at the same time, and I feel like I developed it over the last couple of years, at the same time, I'm fixing it and listening carefully and watching carefully. What can I do to prevent this from happening again? And you know what that kind of leads to? It's process,
Mm-hmm.
it's infrastructure, it's building out mapping because you don't want that mistake to happen again. And so you kind of, and just so that maybe someone out there is not hitting where, not lining up with what you and I are talking about, going into business and trying something and failing is exactly what you need to do. You need to fail. You need
Mm-hmm.
to try stuff and then readjust and reset and start again. But what I think we're both saying is if your capacity of understanding and learning stays here, you will never get past that. You will hit this dead end over and over. So your job as a leader is to think about what does this thing mean to me today, tomorrow, and 10 years from now? You know, that it's today, tomorrow, and the future way down the road. So that's sort of a mindset trait that I have. Zach, what are some of your leadership traits that you've developed over the last few years that you kind of had aha moments that you now almost coast through and it's part of who you are?
Uh, the number one thing I learned is how to shut up and ask questions.
Ah,
Like you were talking about the listening thing, like it if you are leading people, like part of leading is sometimes like it's said that you can't take someone. This was a quote, so this is total ADHD moment. It said that you cannot lead someone where you haven't been yourself, and I
mm,
call bull crap on that.
mm, mm,
And here's why: because how the did we get to the moon, right?
mm,
Like how did we cross the ocean? You know what I mean? Like these things, like you you have to be able to like, okay, I understand this much, and maybe we haven't gone this path before, but
mm.
like I understand some basic principles. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
And so in that, like I've learned that like listening and leveraging the strengths of others, and it almost seems cliche. You got to be willing to grow. Miss Ward in the house. Yes, you have to be willing. Like willingness has to be there. Um, and I think that grew within me as well, a willingness to grow. But listening and asking better questions were two of the things that when I sharpened those skills, other things just kind of fall
Mm,
into place. One of my greatest weaknesses is communication. I hate when people don't communicate. I'm a terrible communicator at the moment. I'm going to be a great communicator
yeah.
because I've set my mind to getting better at it. Um, I surround myself with people who are great at being communicate. Like Doug, you simple things down and you help me
Mm.
process things. You communicate things in a much better, clearer. Don't what is it? Assume the best, right?
Assume the
Like
best,
so.
right?
So those things begin to help you become a better communicator. So, like the strengths, the listening, the asking questions, um, just being quiet and letting the team really speak. Those have been some strengths, right? The passion and the energy that I can bring to a room.
Mm,
Those are huge strengths. If you don't have passion, you don't have energy, your team isn't going to be infected with it.
mm,
So
yeah.
again, like if we go back to leading the sound team example, right? When I was not passionate about doing that, that trickled through the entire team.
Sure.
We had
Sure.
6 or 7 guys at the time, and it trickled through all of them. I was not passionate. I was burnt out. I was angry, and it trickled through every single one of them.
Well, there's a responsibility
Mm-hmm.
for um, inspiring them. It's our responsibility to keep being the encourager and coaching and mentoring and training. There's some people at Action that I've just begun conversations about, like, hey, this could be a great next step for you. And a couple of them over the years have said, that's too much out of my control. That's not something that I would like. And yet, I think that if they were willing to have a desire to do that, um, they'd be amazing because they're so gifted and talented in so many ways in their processes. But you got to respect that, man, that someone is going, I'm not up for that. And there might be some, again, people in our community that are one man shows, and that's what they want to be. And that's fine and that's great. But you gotta be willing to be that voice to whisper and to listen well to your people and coach and watch on the sidelines. Boy, oh boy, that is so much harder. I like Joe's comment. What's that?
We gotta hit this. I Saul's usually trying to distract us. He's dropping truth bomb right here. Failure is the greatest teachers.
Yeah,
All leaders have to have this on their resume.
yeah.
That was another direction that I wanted to go as well. Like some of the greatest leaders, some of the greatest minds out there, they have failed more than you've tried, and that's why they're great. Because they've
Mm,
failed more than you've tried.
yeah, yeah.
It's just like it's increase your capacity for accepting failure
Mm.
and learning from it
Yeah.
and moving to the next step, right?
Yeah.
You have the cliche quote from uh, Einstein, like I found 99 ways that didn't work, just looking for the one,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's okay. Like you have to fail. That's how you learn. That's how you get better.
But
It's when you can't handle the failure that you really fail. Like you have to learn how to grow through failure,
yeah.
not stall in failure. It's 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 a little paradigm shift. It's a little mindset shift. Growing through failure versus failing in failure.
So the thing is that the catalyst or the fuel for failure has to be the right mix, right?
Mm-hmm.
The formula is not just go and hire people and try your best, and it's going to go wrong, and it's good. It's good that it went wrong because now what did I learn? Think about like very successful people, and even and you too, Zach. You say that you've one of the traits is listening well and asking questions and right and pulling out where that person is at so you can guide them. Well, I think you're really good at that. That's why if your camera shut off, I would get really nervous because of the way you facilitate a conversation. And what we do here is we just talk about a topic or an interest, and you don't come at us and you don't just keep preaching and teaching. You're able to facilitate a back and forth dialogue. That's great leadership. But I heard you say that you want to get better at that. Well, how much better?
Yeah,
How much better do you need to be, Zach?
you can always be better.
Well, that's what I think is very successful people. They're never content with even their strengths. They don't rest in them. They keep practicing and trying to exceed because they're excited about that strength,
Mm.
right? So I just now I've hired my own business, a personal coach as well, and my first thing I'd love for him to guide me on is to be a better communicator, to use less words, right? But explore this thing of how I do it and make it the best it can be, right?
See,
Um,
and I think you're a great communicator, and you want to be better. Like
I,
that's the
I know.
perfect
I just
example.
I just want to be even better at it. So yeah, so there's the motivation because it's a gift that we have and we wanted to see where it can go, And so in all that, we will call things steps of failure,
Mm.
because we're going to look back on it, and so failure is great, Now again, back to Joe and in the finding a tech. Um, I feel like looking for the unicorn is looking for the 1942 penny that has got the imperfection in the gigantic bucket. You might find it one day, but it's almost like a lottery ticket. I think the trick is you got to go find somebody and invest in them and be prepared for it to not work out and learn how to end that and start again. Right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I I struggle with this too because I always thought like, and this was listening to the entrepreneur roller coaster, which I think needs to be our next book club book. Just the ups and downs of
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. But he talks about like if you're looking for A players and only hiring A players, like are you willing to hold off for that Michael Jordan, right? Like are
Mhm.
you willing to just wait like I know it's stressful and you're running the truck by yourself and you're wearing all these hats and maybe you haven't hired my office help or one of these other companies that can run your back end office like and so you're just like I don't know what to do and I need to hire someone because I can't keep putting out fire. Da, 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 da. Just hold out just a little more. Shoot for that A player because and experience has taught me this. Oh boy, did experience teach me this multiple times. If you hire a B player, and you're asking them to lead or attract or recruit other techs, guess what's going to happen? They're going to hire C's. They're going to
Mm.
recruit C's because they want to look better.
Mm.
You know what an A player is going to do? A player's going to go, holy crap, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Dude, I got this other A player out here, and this guy needs to be on the team because the two of us together, wow, we can change the world. And so these A players, these top level, these amazing people, they're going to attract other top level people.
Mm.
The people that are weaker, the people that are insecure, are going to attract people that are weaker than them. Federal government.
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess you gotta define a player. To me,
it is what it is for your company. I guess that's my point. Like my definition of an A player and Joe's they could be two different things. You know what I mean?
Well, for me, an A player in the past was an experienced technician who did COD work and has people skills, who likes people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling like when I find those people, they plug into Action Appliance very well. We don't have warranty work,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's all about the people, and the side part is the appliance. But I couldn't wait. I decided I don't want to wait for that candidate to walk through the door or to respond to my ad. So that means that we have to hire potential A players. And that's a learning process for me as well. Again, to answer Joe's question, somebody who has great people skills and is mechanically inclined and needs money, to me, is a perfect potential formula for a good employee. Loving dogs helps as well, because take a picture of you and the dog, and the customer posts that on your Google reviews. That thing will be right at the top. But I mean, I feel so right now. I would tell you that I have A's, B's, and a couple C's, and so those B's potentially can turn into A's. But for us to scale where we're at and where we want to be, it's going to be. I would never. I have 16 techs. To find 16 A's is impossible. So there is a process and a journey. Have I ever seen a B turn into an A? Yes.
It can happen. Yeah.
But it can't just happen. If you're going to make it that it's on them and only them to turn into an A, then that's a problem. It's going to be a coach that you have to have the time to coach them.
They have to have an A mindset.
Yes.
And maybe a B skill level where they can level. And I guess that's my point. So if you are looking at someone and you're interviewing them and their mindset is like to put other people down and to the side and like just make themselves look better than everyone else, that is a dangerous person to have in your organization. That's my opinion.
Right.
Because that's going to train wreck everything else that you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have someone who's maybe not the best technician in the world, right, or the best candidate for that, but they have that mindset like, I'm going to improve. Mm-hmm. Cool. You can coach that up. I'm good with that. Like totally in alignment with that. But if you're trying to grow leadership, so if Doug is trying to recruit the next manager for Action Appliance,
no, that's a different game. Yeah. I'm answering Joe's question about a technician, but growing leaders. How about this? You're at your company. You have someone that's been with you for 18 years and 20 years, and it's physically demanding job. They're getting to an age where they would like to be less in the grind, and they are amazing technicians, technically speaking. And they're even great with their customers. They are great with their customers. But when you talk to them about how would you coach up the bees, and they're like, do your job or you're out of here. It's up to the tech. If you see weak leadership, the question is someone who's been so loyal to you for 20 years and is potentially trying to scale back, do they automatically get that leadership spot? No, because of what you shared earlier, Zach, that, B's and C's in leadership will only attract B's or C's. But do you understand the emotional tug that is you've got someone who's been with you so long, they've earned the spot. I have to give them the chance. They need to take the opportunity, but your intuition in your brain says they don't have it. You can't do it.
And that is the job as the ultimate leader of a company. That is where the leadership is made or broken.
Yep.
Right? You have to have the mental fortitude. You have to have the emotional security to know this is not the right person for the job.
Right.
And I know you have to keep it not personal. It cannot be personal.
Yeah, but it's my brother, it's my brother-in-law, or it's the guy that was here before I took the company over.
Right.
It really, I mean, you can do it, but it's not going to lead to the success that you want and you need.
That's why I love Saul's comment. This is Saul's beginning to understand my brain. I think that's a little scary. Keeping an open mind on finding people is super important. I miss a few times trying to find the right person that I totally missed out on people with untapped potential. Never again. Ask better questions.
Sure.
If you do nothing else as a leader, if you do nothing else as a recruiter, ask better questions. And when you ask the better questions, you're not going to miss those people. That is the point that I was driving home. If you're so focused on, oh my gosh, I got to make sure that, like I do this, you're going to miss the right people. You're going to miss those players that you're looking for because your focus is in the wrong place. But if you can take that out of it and think about it in the perspective that you need to, you're gonna find them.
Well, what's terrible is finding a potential A leader who's never led before, and you're not prepared to plug them in. You don't have your goals set up for them to work by. You don't have the training or the process figured out, and you let them run with it. Well, what do you think is going to happen? So it is having all your ducks in a row, and sometimes you can get paralyzed by wanting everything to be super perfect because you don't want that terrible unicorn to come through and leave because you weren't prepared. You have to be willing to jump ahead here, accept good because it was you. You know that you didn't set a clear, concise message about this aspect of leadership and they missed the mark. Well, that was your fault. Learn from it, grow from it. Again, back to us, the law of the lid for us is becoming better leaders from above too. So thinking about today and tomorrow and 10 years from now.
One of the most challenging lessons, and we'll wrap up with this, is that exact situation. You lose that A-level leader because your leadership is capped here.
Yep.
And their leadership was here.
Yep.
Because you refused to grow, you lost that leader. That is the worst thing. The worst thing.
But it can all happen at the same time, Zach.
Sure.
Like some of us, not me, but some of us have been gifted with years of experience being tutelaged by a great leader.
Yeah.
But for me, for you, whoever we are, as long as we keep pushing our level of growth, our company is going to keep going that way too. And it doesn't mean that we're failures, that Zach, you're much farther along than me. As long as we're moving in that upward position, it's the momentum. This is what I've been feeling this year. The momentum in the gigantic sale behind me, right? I know some people that are way more successful than me, and when I call them, it's so humbling, it's so awesome, and they just tell me what's going on, and then I'm done there, and I'm back to where I'm at. I'm not comparing myself. but I'm listening and watching the littlest of things that catch the wind in my sail.
Mm.
And it's not about where I'm at now compared to my friends. It's about moving forward. It's a journey.
Yeah, you gotta keep that forward momentum, and that was my point. You might lose those people. Don't let that train wreck you. Let it motivate you to that
Yes.
next level. Don't shut down your mindset on I'm not gonna grow as a leader. I'm not gonna.
Mm.
Flip that script. I'm going to. I will. This is, right? Begin to push forward into that future self, right? Again, mindset. It's mindset and how we speak to ourselves.
Mhm.
If you're kneecapping yourself before you start, then yes, you will fail every time. But if you are pushing to be a better leader, sure, you're going to lose out on some of those leaders because you haven't grown to that, but let that be a lesson to motivate you
Mhm.
forward. Let that propel you. Let that be your rocket fuel into the future. And whoo, boy, you are going to have some amazing wins.
And what? So what you've done too, Zach, is you've now thrown one more ingredient into the recipe of business, which is introspective reflection, and where continuing our own growth. All of that could get overwhelming, and I think the tie-in is the banner above. I think becoming part of a mastermind or peer group is that extra support you need, that extra accountability that you need. The inspiration can come from your peers, reminding you of what you're good at when you're beating yourself up, and setting goals for you to hit. I know in my mastermind group, sometimes we meet at 8 o'clock on a Monday night. Sometimes we have a shared spreadsheet for our goals and tasks that we report on. Sometimes I can see multiple people in the spreadsheet on their tab at like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, trying to get some of that stuff done on the night of the meeting because we don't want to come to say, missed out. I didn't get a chance to it. So even though we might have only put an hour in that week, it was the hour leading up to accountability moment. What if we didn't have that peer group or that mastermind? That hour wouldn't have gotten 4 things done off my list.
Yep.
Stupid things, right? You get overwhelmed. So I think you need to inspire. Is this a live banner still? Is this still
Today is the last day to register
got to
for
do
the
it, guys?
4 week mastermind. If you haven't
Yeah.
been in one, get in one.
Yep.
Change the format up quite a bit from before. I'm running an experiment. I'm learning from failures.
Mhm.
I ran it through the guys and we kind of brainstormed a bunch of stuff. Super excited that week 2, we have my friend Danielle Martin from Porty Brown Accountants coming in. She's going to talk about budgeting. I know that seems boring, but it's something that if you don't know where the money is coming and going, guys and girls, you got problems. You got to know where that money's coming. So I'm super excited about her coming. We're talking about SMART goals. We're talking about low cost strategies to help you market during these slow seasons. The South, you have a different slow season than the North, but it doesn't matter. The strategies are still similar, right? Um, and the last week is becoming more efficient. What are the things that we can do to improve our efficiencies? Because slow season, you darn well better have some efficiency or you're gonna
Mhm.
sink. And so
Yeah.
like we got this 4 weeks of just like in your face, and you're gonna learn from your peers as well. These other people in the mastermind, they've done things, they've grown through things, they're learning things, and you're gonna hear these lessons. So today's the last day. Make sure that you register for that mastermind. It's going to be a great time. We're super excited for that. Um, Bill, what's slow
There's
season?
always one guy that's got to do it. It's like
I love it.
you need to find some more unicorns, Phil.
All right, guys, we've prattled enough. Hopefully, it's been encouraging to hear from our experience, to hear from our success, to hear from our failure. Um, Go out and share your success. Go out and
Mhm.
share your failure. And if you do nothing else, ask better questions today.
Mhm. Yeah.
We'll see you next time, guys.
Have a great one. Bye, guys.